Adjunct Professor Moran, Macroeconomics, 111. We're beginning a discussion of supply and demand. Although this is a microeconomic topic, you'll go into great more detail when you take microeconomics. You need some understanding of supply and demand in order to go further in macro. But before we talk about demand, we're going to talk about markets, goods, and services. Markets are any place people come together to exchange goods and services. A market can be a store, a region. It evolves with technology. So once there were general stores, and you hitched up your wagon, you went. Then there was the railroad was completed, and you could have products. You could have a chain of stores. And for example, the first one was the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, the A&P. In the late 1800s, when the U.S. mail service improved, there was mail order catalogs. Sears Roebuck mail order catalog was like the Amazon of its day. After World War II, people started to move to the suburbs, and they developed strip malls, and you can see those all over. The suburbs are designed with zoning, and zoning means you can only put certain things in certain areas. Some areas are zoned residential, some areas are zoned commercial. So all along the major roads, it's been zoned commercial, and space has been provided to strip malls. Then the mall, like Smith Haven or Green Acres, was the next innovation in marketing, and the advantage to that was that you were inside, and there were anchor stores, those very large stores that are far apart in the mall, and they can increase the rent on the small stores because they can guarantee the small stores foot traffic moving by them because of the large stores, the anchors. And the most current innovation in markets, a place where people come together to buy goods and services, is the internet. Now, what are we satisfying wants with? Goods and services. Goods are physical, are tangible things of value that give satisfaction. Tangible, you have to be able to touch it. Value, you have to be paying for it. If it's a human want, but there is no monetary value to it, it's a social or psychological thing. We're studying things that satisfy human wants that have value. And it has to give utility, which to an economist means satisfaction. Tangible. Services are intangible things of value that give satisfaction. Can't touch it, pay for it, gives satisfaction. Sneakers, cars, food are examples of goods. Car wash, haircut, manicure are examples of services. Now, we'll define demand. Demand is a willingness and ability to buy goods and services. In order to be in the market, that's actually the expression, you have to have willingness and ability. So I was in an accident once, and my car was totaled. I had to get another car. And so I went to a Corvette dealer, and when the salesman came up and asked me what I wanted, and I'm interested in the Corvette, and he asked me, what do you do? And I told him a teacher, and he laughed at me and walked away. I may be willing to buy a Corvette, but I'm not able. Now, I used to give examples about demand using CDs, the things that play music, and I'd have students complete a demand schedule. How many they buy at different prices. And as time went on, fewer and fewer students were volunteering to participate because although they are able to buy a CD, they weren't willing because they're getting their music through MP3 downloads and digital means. To be in the market for something, you have to be willing and able. The law of demand, now this demand doesn't tell us how people behave, so we need the law of demand. And the law of demand is a law of human behavior that states that there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. And that term quantity demanded is going to be very important to us later in our discussion. In other words, you don't like it when price goes up, so you'll try to buy less of something. And when price goes down, you'll buy more of something. And there are three reasons that you don't like it when price goes up and you like it when price goes down with respect to how much quantity you buy. And these are the three reasons that demand has a negative relationship between price and quantity. The principle of diminishing marginal utility is the first reason for the negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. And it sounds so difficult to understand. All it means is that as you consume additional or marginal units, your satisfaction goes down with each succeeding unit. So it's a law that states that as a person consumes additional units of a good or service, the utility gained from each declines. Now, let's discuss that. Let's say I like pizza, because I do. And when I was a kid, I made a bet to my friends that I could eat an entire pizza pie by myself. Now, I would lose 120 pounds when I was in high school. I was very small. And so it would be an amazing act of gluttony, which my teenage friends would enjoy. Now, at the time, a slice of pizza cost 25 cents. Now, I'm going to talk about how much I enjoy pizza, how much I'm willing and able to pay, not how much the store is going to charge me. And now I'm going to buy the slice individually. I'm not going to buy a giant pie because by the time I get to the last slice, it'll be cold and disgusting. So I'm going to buy slice after slice to impress my friends. Now, believe it or not, I enjoy a slice of pizza about 3 times as much as the average person enjoys their first slice. That's how much I enjoy it. That's how willing and able I am. Now, have you ever bought something and felt I would have paid more for that, but I didn't have to, they charged me less? That's how I felt about pizza. I was willing to pay $75, but they only charged me $25. Now, that's my first slice. If you think about it, I'm now going to go get my second slice. How much would I be willing and able to pay for my second slice? More, the same, or less? Well, probably less because I've satisfied some of my hunger already. So maybe I would be willing and able to pay 60 cents. Now, I'm only paying 25. I'm talking about how much I enjoy it as measured by what I'd be willing and able to pay. By the third slice, 40 cents. By the fifth slice, I enjoyed my fifth slice as much as most people enjoy their first slice. By my sixth slice, I'm enjoying that 15 cents worth. Now, this makes no economic sense to pay 25 cents for something you're only enjoying 15 cents. Economic sense. Socially, I had to do it because I shot my mouth off and bragged about I could eat an entire pizza. By my seventh slice, I'm getting ready to, be ill. So I could take it or leave it. And by my eighth slice, I'd pay the guy a dime not to give it to me. But I had to do it because I bragged to my friends, and I did. I ate the entire pie by myself, and I was a hero amongst my friends for about 2 days, and then had to find something else stupid to do. But from this, you can see that as I consumed additional units of something, my satisfaction on each next one went down. That's the principle of diminishing marginal utility. Now, we're going to graph this. And we're going to price and quantity on each axis. At 75, I enjoy, was the first one. At 60 cents, that's the second one. At 40 cents, that's the third one. 25 cents, fifth one. 15 cents, that's the seventh one. And at 8 cents, I'm negative a dime. And you connect the dots, and that's a demand curve. Okay. Now, I would like to point out that these are marginal numbers. This is how much I'm willing to pay for that one, how much I'm willing to pay for the next one. I want to draw your attention to the difference between a marginal analysis and a total analysis. So here's my quantity, and we'll have the same quantities down here. Now, my first one I enjoyed 75 cents. I'm not going to do this to scale. My next one I enjoyed less, but it's still positive. So now I'm at $1.35 happiness. My total happiness will rise another 40 cents to $1.75 with my third one. With my fourth one, I'm increasing my happiness, let's see, 1, 2, 3, by my, oops, I missed one, I missed 4. Okay, well, the next one I'm enjoying 25 cents more, so that brings me to $2 in total utility or total happiness. By the 16th one, another 15 cents, so that would be $2.15. The seventh one is my seventh one should be 0. So actually I drew this wrong. This should be over here because I missed one. That's what this would be 7, and this would be 8 at negative a dime, and this is 0. So at 7 I've peaked because my marginal utility is 0. And my 8th one, my total utility starts going down. So although your marginal utility is diminishing per unit consumed, it's still, as long as it's positive, your total utility will be going up. Your total utility peaks where your marginal utility is 0. And if you continue, you'll have negative utility and your total utility will go down. Another reason for the negative relationship between price and quantity is something called the income effect. Let's say your income is $10. Price quantity if the price of something is 10, you can only afford one. If the price falls to 5, you can afford 2. And if the price falls to 2, you can afford 5. That's a negative relationship between price and quantity. It's the income effect. At a lower price, your income goes further and you can buy more. And if you graph that, you'll still see a negative relationship. The final reason that the demand curve is a negative relationship between price and quantity is the substitution effect. For this graph, you need 2 graphs to see. Maybe coffee and tea. If the price of coffee rises, P1 and Q2, rises to P2, you'll consume less coffee. The quantity demanded of coffee will fall. But if you're in Starbucks and you don't buy the coffee, you're going to buy something else. Nothing's happened to the price of tea, but you'll buy more tea at the same price. So the demand curve is a negative relationship because when price rises, you can buy less of that and substitute to something else. These are the 3 reasons a demand curve is a negative relationship between price and quantity. How are we going to represent demand? We're going to represent demand with a numeric table that expresses the relationship between price and quantity, and that's called a demand schedule. And we're going to take that and graph it, and a graph of a demand schedule is a demand curve. And you're thinking, if you could only see one, you'd understand so much better. And that's what we just did here. This is a demand schedule, a numeric table between price and quantity demanded. And a demand curve is a graph of a demand schedule. And next topic will be the difference between demand and quantity demanded.